Welcome back for another story time. Today I'm going to tell you about a time when I used to work at Costco, how a manager was trying to set me up. The manager was trying to set me up. I don't know if he was trying to get me written up or fired. One or the other. It wasn't good, but it backfired on him. Okay. Once upon a time, I used to work at Costco, and I was working at membership services, like the desk that does the memberships. Um, and there were like four managers in the store that day. And one of the managers told me to stop doing what I was doing um, with the memberships and go to the door and count items. If you're a member at Costco, you know that before you leave the store, there are people at the door to count whatever items in the basket, and then you can leave. Um, that's just one of Costco's policies. So he tells me to stop doing what I'm doing, and he points out a couple to me, and he says, I want you to check their backpack. Um, Count the items in their basket and check their backpack. It was a couple that had a young baby with them. They had the stroller, they had the shopping cart, and yeah, and the guy had it was a backpack, but it was a baby bag, and it's a backpack. It's on his back. Um, so it's him, his wife, and the baby. So I'm like, okay. So, a manager told me to do it. I was good. So I went and stood at the door, and I don't know what they were doing, but they were approaching the door, like they were coming towards the door, but like walking slowly. I think they were like looking in the car a car that was parked inside of Costco, and they're like doing like little things, and the other person that was at the door, I'm standing there talking with the other person, just kind of waiting for them to come up closer to the door so that I could count the items in a basket, and then ask the guy if I could check his backpack, because I'm thinking maybe the manager saw something. Um, so Oh my gosh, I should tell the story time about loss prevention. You know what? I'll tell the story time really quickly, and then I'll tell you guys about the time that the guy from loss prevention got fired. But so what happened? So the another manager calls me over to her computer because she needed me to help her figure out something. She didn't know how to upload something from a PDF file. Whatever she was saying, she was talking to me about PDF file, having how to upload it. Like, she didn't know how to do it, so she needed my help. And I told her, like, one of the top managers told me to check this person's bag, so be quick because I need to go back and check his bag. And she's like, oh, I'll be really quick. And as we're talking, the couple is approaching the door, and the couple's approaching the door, and the guy that's at the door that was counting members' items that are in the shopping cart, they walk up to him, and he starts counting the items in the basket. And I'm just like, and I'm telling the manager, I'm like, I need to be doing this because another manager just told me to, that's who he wanted me to check their bags. And she's like, oh, D got it, D's at the door, he has it. So I'm just like, okay, like, I can't run over there and start double checking on top of him just because the manager told me to. But another manager in the store called me away from the door, so I'm listening to her, and it just was all happening just so fast. So after that happens, the couple, they're really upset about it. Like, why was their backpack being checked? And they start asking for corporate, and just it turned into a really big mess. So I was like, woo, like, I'm glad that wasn't me. So I'm thinking that I'm in the clear because they didn't have anything to say about me. I didn't check their bags. They were talking about the guy who actually checked their backpack. They were upset about that. They knew about, of course, as a member, they knew that the items in the cart would be counted, and they knew that their receipt would have to be looked at. But they were really upset about the guy checking their baby bag. So that was spiraling out of control. So the manager who told me to check the couple's backpack, he calls me into the office, and he tells me that I need to be written up for being late 11 times. And I'm like, tardy 11 times? Like, there is no job or school that I've ever gone to that I was ever late 11 times. So he brings this paper out that was pre-signed, prepared, and everything. He's like, you need to sign here and here and initial here. So I'm like, can we go on the computer and see my time card? Because at Costco, Well, I don't know about now, but we clocked in and clocked out. So he was hesitant about it. He starts fidgeting around. He takes 2 phone calls in between, like he's doing everything to avoid pulling up my time where I'm actually, where you could see a record of my punch ins and punch out. So finally he gets to it. He didn't want to. I could tell he didn't want to. He had such resistance to it. So finally he sees that in 3 years I had only been late 2 times. One being on the first day that I needed to clock in, I didn't know how to use the clock and I clocked in 1 minute late. Another time, which happened a whole year and a half later, I was late 2 times. The second time was because I used to live like 20 minutes from work and I had to wait on a train. So when I did clock in, I clocked in 3 minutes late. But those were the reasons, because I always leave early for work, just because I don't like to just go in the door and go to work. I like to go in, go in the break room, relax, say good morning, drink water or tea, more water or tea, because before I left home I probably already had 3 cups. So I don't like to just jump in the door and jump into work. So that's a lot of times why I'm really rarely was ever late for work ever in my life. So I'm like 11 times. I'm like, who added 9 more times to this? Like I think he just didn't count on me to ask him to see the records of my time clock, the times that I'm punching in and out. So he's really flustered. He's upset. He's putting his hands in his pockets. He's folding his arms. He's pacing back and forth in that small office. He's pacing back and forth in front of me, and then he sits down and he starts crying. So I don't know what to think at this point. First I'm like, okay, did somebody send him to fire me? Did somebody send him to write me up? Like 11 times. First of all, at Costco, you wouldn't have even been able to get up to 11 times without having at least one meeting. At least one meeting about why are you late. And that's never happened. So that was all false paperwork that they just drew, that he or somebody drew that up against me. But anyways, backfired. He was in there crying. Like, he probably thought that I would be in there crying, but I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I've never been late 11 times. So within 3 years, that 2 times, that's pretty good. So yeah, that was the manager trying to set me up or get me fired, one or the other. But quickly, I'm going to tell you guys, this is the same Costco store. This is the same job at Costco that I used to work. When I first got there was a guy who used to work in loss prevention. He would just walk around the store and like have a few items in his cart like he was shopping, but he was actually watching other members to see if they were stealing. And every day he would say something rude. I didn't know him, but every day he would make sure he would say something rude to me out of the blue, like, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for your life, I don't like where I see your life going. And I would say, why do you say that? Like, we don't know each other. Why do you say that? And he's like, I don't know, I just see an ugly soul on you. And I'm like, you can't say that to me. We don't know each other, and I don't know where this is coming from. Like, this is very strange. Like, he just had it out for me from the beginning. Like, he would manage to just, and a lot of times he wouldn't even look at me. It was so weird. Like, if we were working next to each other or just somewhere next to each other, he would mumble something about me, like to me, but not like look at me, and then like run away from me. He was so strange. But and then he didn't even do this to other people. I noticed that he's like just doing this to me. So he's like, do you have children? I'm like, I don't know if I really want to tell you that. I said, since you want to say oddly rude things to me every day, we don't know each other. So so the next day, I think, he's like, oh, so-and-so told me that you have a son, a 10-year-old son, and you have a baby. So I'm like, yeah, okay. And he was like, well, I'm praying for your children because with you as their mother, they're going to be losers. So I said, this is unacceptable, and we need to have a meeting with the manager. I don't even know your last name. I don't know why you're saying this. So during this time, guys, I was finding a bunch of watches. It was around holiday time. I kept finding a bunch of the fit watches. People would open the fit watches, put them on their arm, and put the packaging inside of the towels. They would like roll them in the towels and like tuck them back in the towel boxes. And I would find them. I would find them because sometimes I would have to, this is when I was newer on the job, when I used to just fold the towels. I used to fold the towels, and I used to work in hearing aids, I think. So, like at the pharmacy. So I would always find these, but I did not know that this was connected to like loss prevention. I would just take the packaging inside the manager's office, and I would have to write down the time that I found it and where I found it. So after about 6 times of doing this, they fired the guy, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was like directly, I was going to say correlated. I'm not, I don't think that's the right word, but I did not know that it had a direct effect on him. So I would just take the things that I would find that I knew that was stolen, like empty packaging and things like that, take it in the office to write down the times that I saw it. I would have to have a manager sign off on it. And that was it. And that was his job. He's supposed to be watching people, but these Fitbits that were like $79, maybe more, $79 or more at that time. And so, yeah, they fired him, and I was like, oh my, not thank God. I don't want him to be fired. Like, I don't want him to be fired, but I felt so relieved that he's not going to be there saying these awful things. And so, yeah. Okay, how many minutes are we in? Okay. I'm going to end this because I've uploaded enough. I think I made enough videos for today, and I'll try and stay more consistent on this channel because I'm consistent everywhere else, but on YouTube I feel like I make this like my last thing. So I hope you enjoyed that story time. If you're a new subscriber, thank you. If you're an old subscriber, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you've watched this story time and you don't want to subscribe, at least give this video a thumbs up and kind of push me through YouTube's algorithm so other people can see this story time. And then other people might want to have comments that they want to put down in the comment section below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of the day. Assalamu alaikum.